on Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson has turned into a very controversial figure and one much admired by his public because he has posed an opposition to this great front of movement for women's equality, for the upbringing of women. Now, I believe both women's equality is a very important subject, but equality, possibly, as Jordan Peterson is pointing out, is not the most appropriate word because women and men are not equal. They are different. So they are not, one is not the same as the other. A man is not the same as a woman. And this is something that the great postmodernists, as Jordan Peterson points out, are trying to sort of nullify. They want us to believe that a man and a woman are the same thing. Now, they're not the same thing. Now, the position of women in the world right now is a position that must be improved. I believe that the society in general must cater more to the wants of women. But as Jordan is pointing out, that the wants of men are not being met either. So this sort of debate on the sexes, I believe, is a much needed debate and one which the postmodernists are trying to nullify. They want us all to be equal, all to be this sort of unisex modern entity with no real definition, which is a disastrous sort of an outlook. Now, hopefully, the movement for women's rights, I believe, is a very spirited movement. I believe it is a movement that is, well, there is a great need for this movement, but it is a movement that is moving very, very superficial, with only looking at the superficial needs. The great needs, the deep needs of the women are being ignored in this movement. Now, Jordan Peterson is not looking at the great needs of women. He's looking at the great needs of men. So, hopefully, as a repercussion of his bringing out the masculine, the other side, instead of taking offense to him, which is what they are currently doing, they can dig deeper and find out what are the deeper needs of women and bring that out into the game. That would be what I would consider to be a positive sort of an outcome of this. But the situation as it stands now is that everybody's very high in spirits, everybody's very high in defending their ground, and no one is, well, digging deeper. Jordan Peterson's side seems to be digging a little deeper than the other side right now, because the other side, in their minds, are on the side of what is right, what is just. And they are, but they're not digging deep enough. The situation where we must understand that this whole world was constructed on the efforts of man and the wants of man for a very, very long time now. And the solution of the postmodernist is that the women is the same as man. And what this does is it puts women in a world that was built for man. And so in order for her to have success, she must act like a man. And, well, as he has pointed out, in Sweden, where there is the Sweden and the northern countries of Europe, there they have the maximum, they have the most social justice of any other part in the world. And there, a man and a woman have more possibilities of pursuing their true passions. And in these countries, women are doing jobs that are typical for women, and men are doing jobs that are typical for men, not because they have been constrained to do so, because it is what they choose to do so. When you give the freedom, free of economical constraints, to either a man or a woman to choose their own roles, they will usually choose roles that are more, as Jordan Peterson argues, women are more interested in the personal, the personal. They're more interested in people. They're more interested in psychology, and men are more interested in things. They're more interested in arguments of surrounding things and issues, while as women are more interested in the personal. This is not always true in all situations. There are men that are more feminine and there are women that are more masculine. But how do we resolve this sort of paradox that we're in? How do we make everybody happy? Well, that is a very difficult thing to do. So I believe that this is an ongoing process. And in this ongoing process, there is a duality that has been presented. There is the side of the postmodernists and of the women's rights, and there is the uprising side of the Jordan Peterson and his strive to redeem masculinity. So, in this situation, I believe that both sides must contribute. Jordan Peterson's side has raised the intellectual level of the argument. He is putting forth many case studies. He's putting forth a lot of psychological insight. And I believe that in order for the other side to be successful, they don't have to oppose him completely, but they have to take what he says into account and restructure their arguments, dig deeper, and therefore come out with a new outlook. I don't think that one side should win over the other. I believe that there should be an ongoing one side sort of raises a level, then the other side raises the level again, and the other side raises the level again, and ongoingly so until we end up in a situation with more understanding. Now, this will not be easy because it is a very passionate argument where people don't like to be contradicted. But what is a contradiction if not something, when if taken into account, when you come up with an opposing argument to what you believe in, in my opinion, the most productive sort of an outlook you could take is not to radicalize and engage in violent arguments and insults, but rather that it is more important to take into account what is said, and then in your own beliefs, dig deeper, and come out with more intelligent arguments. Because right now, on the extreme left side that defends women, the arguments are very sort of banal. Yes, it is true that women has been unsatisfactorily dealt with. She has been ignored in a very large part, and what is femininity has been ignored, but also in this sort of equal work for equal pay, in this sort of a look for fitting women into the workplace, I don't think that the true nature of woman is being taken into account. I believe she is being fit into the role of a man, and her success is being based on her acting like a man, being productive in a workplace based on aggressive masculine values, because our workplace is based on aggressive masculine values. And what I would hope for is for true femininity to come out and for the workplace to become more respectful of both sexes. Women is more interior, men is more exterior. This is the traditional sort of a definition of masculinity and femininity. Man is more outgoing, woman is more contemplative. So this is not always true, I repeat, in all cases of men and women, but in general it is the trend. And if these trends are to be taken into account, maybe in the workplace, because in the workplace it is only the outgoing, the extrovert who finds success in our current workplace. But the introvert has much to offer, and femininity is more introverted than masculinity traditionally. So if we could find ways of altering the workplace by engaging in arguments and discussions on the sexes and the differences of the sexes and what each of the sexes truly wants. Because one of the things that I have not heard from the side that represents women's rights is what women really want. They want more money, more money, more money, more money. But what they should be looking for as well is a workplace that caters to their wants and needs, which I believe that the current workplace does not cater to the wants and needs of femininity, as it has been built in a world dominated by man. So the point that I'm trying to get across here is that we have to take into account our nature. And not just the success, the financial success that comes out of employment, but we have to look at the factors which regulate this success in employment and make the workplace a more comfortable place for man and woman. And this is basically the argument that I want to put forth. And also that we should not become stagnated in our views. We should have the decency to look deeper in ourselves and look deeper in the reasons why we defend what we defend and find the reasons of what we truly believe that are the justifications of what we seek in our arguments. Why do we the why on why women why there is a need for uplifting women is because women has been ignored for a very long time. Why there is a need to look deeper in man? Because man is not in a good position himself, as he has been in a world that has been dominated by masculinity without the counterpart of femininity. And masculinity and femininity work hand in hand. The masculine rebounds off of the feminine to identify itself, and the feminine absorbs the masculine and rebounds in its own way and identifies herself. But this has not been happening in a world dominated by man. This has not been happening in a world dominated by man. And man's position is just as, in my opinion, and is just as deficient as the woman's position, as he has not had masculinity and femininity work in balance. And this balance has been biased in one direction, and this has affected both sides negatively. Arguably, it has been affecting femininity worse than masculinity because femininity is what has been ignored. But by the world built by this is a world biased in a masculine view, a world biased in a masculine view, and really, to find equality is a mistake. What we must find is each of our places in balance. Masculine must find its place balanced with the feminine, and the feminine must find its place balanced with the masculine. And in order to do this, we must continue the debate. And I believe that Jordan Peterson is a very a good thing that he has come out arguing the side for the masculine, because it gives the feminine now a chance to dig deeper, to dig into itself and find arguments as to what they really want. They don't just, well, right now, perhaps the situation, for example, with the Me Too movement is a reaction to quite a significantly unacceptable situation of there being the power being abused and people being taken advantage of. And this is completely unacceptable. So it is a radical, there's been radicalization And, well, it's a difficult situation. It is a difficult situation. But the ongoing debate is important. And I believe Jordan Peterson argues with psychological insight. Psychological insight mainly defending the male position. But this, instead of being taken offense to, should be taken into account. And then the female position should dig deeper into itself and find what they truly need. Thank you for listening.